you held it forward into the bedroom, the lights, the sun, you switch on, you saw your dad come into the room. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Again, I've got to ask you just to remember, please remember to raise your voice.
That's correct.
At
You
that
can't
stage,
sit down at all?
I'm not comfortable standing.
Are you okay?
Yes, thank you.
at that stage, was the attack on Rudy still going on?
It was, yes.
Now, the attacker, if you explain the lights went off, you explain what do you see, how was the person dressed?
I could just see that the person was covered basically head to toe, and they had something cover they had something covering their head. At that stage, I couldn't see the front of their face, but later on when I did, I could see that they had a dark grey mask on that basically just had eye holes and a hole in the mouth.
You see whether he was wearing gloves or not?
He was wearing gloves, he was wearing a long sleeve jumper and dark shorts as well. Dark long pants, sorry. I can't recall what shoes he was wearing.
What did your dad do when he came into the room?
My dad immediately moved towards the attacker.
Now, we know from the layout of the room, this photograph of your dad, as he would have entered into the room, he would have been closer to the wall of the bedroom, furthest away from where you were standing, and the one closest to the stairways on the outside. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, what did your dad do?
He immediately moved onto the bed. It looked like he was on his way to tackle the attacker, or just he was moving in the direction that would have placed him in between Rudy and the attacker. But
As your dad lunged towards the attacker, what happened?
as he got onto the bed, basically lunging forward at the attacker, he was hit whilst he was moving, and after that he didn't move again.
Did you see where your father was hit?
He was hit in the head.
You said he didn't move after the first. Did the attack on him cease?
No, it didn't. He was hit several more times whilst laying on the bed.
Apart from hitting your dad, did the attacker do anything else?
I distinctly remember a laugh at this moment.
You said the city heard him laugh. Was that while he was attacking your father?
It was, yes.
Right, what happened next?
I heard my mom out, I heard her voice coming from out in the rest of the house, saying something along the lines of "Wat gaan hier aan? Wat gaan aan?"
Do you know whether the attacker heard her too?
I don't know, but I presume he did, because immediately thereafter he left the room.
Now, when you left the room, were you able to see? The sisters didn't get on this slide, so I'll be able to. When he left the room, did you see what was going on outside of the room?
I could not.
Why is that?
The wall was obstructing my view.
You're not referring to the wall that forms the boundary between the bedroom and the bathroom.
Correct.
Now, for how long did the attacker remain outside to fill the vision?
I can't recall for how long. It couldn't have been too long. I would estimate a minute or two.
Now, during the time that the attacker was outside of your field of vision, did you hear any sounds of attack taking place outside of the building?
I did not. I don't recall hearing any sounds from outside the room, but this doesn't really make sense to me.
Now, Mr. Bogdan, I need to ask you this, perhaps at this stage. You now indicated to His Lordship you saw attack firstly on your brother.
Correct.
Then on your father.
Correct.
Now, when the attacker left the room, the bedroom, what went through your mind? You knew your mother was outside.
I was just scared. I couldn't. I didn't know what to do. I can't specifically recall what was going through my mind at that point, but I certainly wasn't able to think clearly. And
I think the question is, why did you not come to the aid of your father or brother?
I don't know. Lord, I was very scared.
Now, did the attacker then remain outside the room, or did he come back into the room again?
The attacker came back into the room.
At that stage, where were you?
I was, as far as I can recall, still in the vicinity of that corner of the room, as mentioned before, but I can't specifically tell you where. It's basically an inference I'm making from how I remember seeing the room.
So the attacker came back into the room. Can you describe his actions?
He came back into the room, looked around, and then looked at me. Then slowly walked towards me. He laughed again.
When he moved towards you, you had a clear view I'm asking, did you have a clear view of what he was dressed like?
Of him? Yes. Yes, I did.
Facial hair looked like?
Yes, I did. I could see that he had, as I've mentioned, a mask with just holes cut out for the eyes and a hole cut out for the mouth. It didn't look like something that was. It looked homemade in the sense that, remember, it wasn't like a clean stitch around the holes.
You said he looked around, exactly, so what did he do next?
He then started walking towards me. He seemed rather unconcerned about me. He came at me rather slowly, and but as he lifted the axe, I stepped forward and grabbed the axe and his hand in which he was holding the axe.
You said he raised the axe, grabbed the hand in which he was holding the axe. Which hand was that?
His right hand.
Yes.
I grabbed his his wrist with my left hand, and with my right hand, I remember holding onto basically the top of his hand. Where he was holding the axe, I grabbed just above where his hands were also partly on top of his hand. And I pulled the axe in his hand away from each other.
In which hand were you then holding the axe?
In my right hand. And as I removed, as I was able to get the axe from him rather easily, I also pushed him away.
You pushed him away?
Yes, to try and separate us.
Could you recall at that stage whether you had any view of Breda and Dad on Breda's bed?
Yes, I do recall that during the period when the attacker left the room, Rudy was moving around in the bed rather violently. He was shaking.
But if you say he was wrong, he was moving around rather violently, you mean he was crawling around, or what did you see?
I saw his arms and legs shaking around. They were, it wasn't a motivated movement, so to speak, or goal-oriented. It was just, say it looked like flame.
Flame and shaking, is it?
Correct.
Right. Now, you said you disarmed the attacker and you pushed him away. What did the attacker do when you pushed him away?
The attacker stumbled back and he twisted away with his right shoulder going backwards, but recovered fairly quickly. He then
You said he recovered rather quickly. What happened next?
Next, he stood up and came at me again. He had a knife in his hand, and again in his right hand. I didn't see him pick up the knife. I didn't see where it came from.
One moment. Could you indicate to your lordship why he was holding this knife?
He was holding the knife in his right hand with the blade downwards.
You're demonstrating now that his right hand was slightly raised directly across what is in front of his body, and he was holding the knife with the blade sticking out in a fist-like manner, holding the blade sticking out towards the bottom of the hand. Is that correct?
Correct.
Could you just demonstrate that, please?
Holding the knife with the blade on that side of his hand. Yes, I just
Now,
as we came together again, him stepping towards me this time, I raised the axe and he raised his knife hand, now in the position that I've described.
one moment. You say you raised the axe. Which hand were you holding the axe?
My right hand.
And what did the attacker do with the knife here?
We had the knife in front of him. As we came together, I grabbed the hand in which he was holding the knife, picked up his wrist.
Just hold on, this demonstrate the position. Demonstrate the place of you're showing us that with your
His right hand with the knife,
right hand with his knife, and you grab him where?
my left hand just below his wrist.
You demonstrate this just below the wrist area.
Correct.
At that stage, where physically was the knife in relation to you and his wife when you grabbed it?
Directly in between us. But at the same time as me grabbing his knife arm, he grabbed the arm in which I was holding the axe.
Which part of your arm in which you were holding the axe did you grab on?
My wrist.
The wrist as well. Your right wrist, in other words.
Yes.
Well, I understand you this correctly. At that stage, the two of you were fairly close together. You holding on to his forearm, holding the knife, and he holding on to your axe arm, which you held the axe, correct?
Correct.
And you were face to face.
Correct. At this point, my lord, we was for a while. It was just a struggle for control.
What do you mean by that, struggle for control? Was there movement of bodies and arms, or what do you mean by that?
Movement of our arms. I was trying to stop him from hurting me with the knife, and I presume he was trying to do the same with the axe in my hand.
One moment. Did the attacker attempt to stab or slash at you with a knife?
Yes, whilst throughout this tussle, he was constantly trying to attack me with the knife. I distinctly remember him trying to cut at my throat and pulling his hand downwards so that the knife made connection with my chest instead.
Yes. Anything else?
This happened throughout the fight a couple of times, where our hands sort of crossed from each other, so the knife moved between us several times. He tried to cut at my right arm with the knife, but I was able to avoid that because my arm was mobile. After some time of tussling there, pushing each other back and forth, he at some point twisted his arm from his side clockwise, from my side anti-clockwise, his right arm in which he was holding the knife.
Now we've seen photographs of the injuries that were taken, photos were taken that later on that morning while you were sitting in the ambulance. You remember those photographs?
I've seen those photographs,
The
yes.
purpose of the very part is it would be C, I beg your pardon, C. Now, on the photographs, we can also see 3 or 4 what's referred to as cuts or slash or scratches on the left forearm.
Correct.
Do you recall how you sustained those?
Yes, he basically flicked his wrist at my arm, I think, in an attempt to make my hand let go. But
Demonstrate that again, please.
where my left arm was holding his right hand, in which he was holding the axe, he basically flicked his hand like this.
This is already what you demonstrated. You were holding on to his right forearm.
His right forearm with my left
And he
hand.
was moving his wrist while holding the knife in a flashing
Basically
manner.
flicking his wrist.
Flicking. In a
Yes,
flicking manner.
yes. This obviously resulted in those scratches, but I don't remember feeling any pain.
Right, you were busy telling that you moved your at some stage, then moved his hand in a certain fashion.
Yes, he twisted his arm with the knife downwards, and this left my hand rather precariously holding onto his. And as a result of which, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to keep hold of his arm. He was busy trying to stab me.
Just demonstrate again using your right hand, right arm, doing the attack,
Yes.
holding the knife. In which way, clockwise or anti-clockwise, did you move his arm?
From his point of view, clockwise.
And that caused your left arm to move counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise, yes.
And to the side, demonstrate to the side.
Yes.
Yes?
He was stabbing me in the side at this time, and at about that exact moment, my right hand was around here. Is him.
So all of this be just in place for the record, is all like that. You demonstrating on your left hand was somewhat towards,
Let's demonstrate your right hand.
I first don't see his left hand.
So my left hand
Left hand is
was.
busy helping, Mr. Mabel, this place the record what you did, what you demonstrated.
Yes. My left hand was now twisted, and
Not talking about in this place of record. Your left hand was twisted slightly counterclockwise and
Correct.
down at your side, and your right hand you're demonstrating right arm in a slightly raised position.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes. My right
In
arm
that
was.
position, what happened next?
From there, as he stabbed into me, I tried to hit him with the axe, and the axe made connection with his shoulder,
Which shoulder?
his right shoulder. As a result of which, he let go of the knife, and
Right. At the time that you hit him with the axe, did you manage to inflict a wound with the axe?
not that I could visibly see, no.
At that stage, could you see which way the axe was facing?
Yes, I did see the moment that it struck his shoulder and the axe was backwards.
By backwards, you mean the sharp end of the knife, of the axe was actually facing towards you, the blunt side towards the attack.
Correct.
1 minute. Could you also explain to his lordship, at the time when you made contact with his shoulder, at that stage, was he still holding on to your right forearm with his left hand?
He was, yes.
How did you then manage to make contact with his shoulder?
I flicked my wrist down at him, but I think also he may have been slightly distracted by the fact that he was now successfully stabbing me in the side. Just these two things happened at about the same time.
I was about to ask you, you being stabbed and you making contact with the blunt side of the axe to the right shoulder of the attacker. What happened first? Are you able to say?
I'm not able to say the way I recall it happened simultaneously. As soon as I struck him with the axe, he let go of the knife, he let go of my arm, and I immediately pulled the knife out of my side.
Are you demonstrating using your right hand?
Correct.
Evidence was laid by mistake by one of us, fully funded fingerprint expert, that your thumbprint was found on the blade of the knife, facing towards the handle of the knife.
This would make sense with the way I pulled the knife out. Lord.
When you pulled the knife out, what did you do with the knife?
I can't recall, so
Or did you keep it in your possession?
no, I dropped it, so I can't recall where it ended up.
Now, can you give his lordship an indication of an estimate of the time? How long was this knife stuck in your body?
Less than a second. It was immediately after he let go of the knife. I wanted the knife out of my side, so I pulled it out.
When the attacker let go of the knife, what did he do?
He fled the room after letting go of me, and
Now, the attacker then fled the room, what did you do?
I hesitated for a moment. As he, just after he left the room, I heard two angry voices. It sounded like one voice, and then distinctly sounded like there was a reply. And so I think that that moment of not being sure how many people were now in the house made me hesitate a further second before going after the attacker.
Now, you say you heard two voices. Why do you say that there were two voices?
It sounded like a response to what was first said.
And could you make out what language the people were speaking?
I couldn't, but they were quite harsh tones, I would say, so I infer that it's Afrikaans, but I can't be 100% sure because I didn't hear the words.
At that stage, could you recall where Rudy was?
Rudy was on his bed.
And was he still moving the manner that you described earlier?
I can remember him shaking around, yes.
What did you do?
I followed after the attacker out of the room.
When you went out of the room, you've seen photographs that and in this exhibit B of taken by Sergeant Kleinout, one of the first officers on the scene, which Murray was depicted lying just outside the bedroom door with the feet into the bedroom and next to the mom was lying on face down.
I've seen those photos.
Can you recall whether when you went out, did you see Murray and mom lying?
I did see Morley and Mom lying there, but in the photos, Morley's legs are in the doorway, and when I passed through there was nothing obstructing the doorway.
Can you say for certain where her feet were?
No.
Now, at the time before you left the room, could you see any injuries on Dad and Rudy?
Yes, there was quite a lot of blood already.
And which part of the body?
Their heads. And all.
And when you left the room, did you see blood with Murray and the moms?
Yes, there was certainly blood on the floor where they were laying.
Can you recall seeing the injuries on that?
Also, I could see blood on their heads.
But you went out of the room. What happened next?
I saw the attacker was on his way down the stairs, nearing the bottom of the stairs. I don't recall deciding to do so, but I immediately threw the axe at the guy.
When you say it was near the bottom of the stairs, you mean the bottom of the stairs down at the kitchen area?
No, sorry, the bottom of the first half of the stairs, the bottom of the upper,
It's the middle
the
landing.
middle landing. Yes,
Right. You saw the attacker towards the middle landing. What did you do?
I threw the axe at him.
When you threw the axe at the attacker, was the attacker stationed at that stage?
No, he was on his way down the stairs. He was running.
Did you see when you hit the attacker or what you hit with the axe when you threw it?
No, I didn't see where the axe ended up because I lost my footing and fell down the stairs.
Now, when you fell down the stairs, would you describe the axe? The fall?
I struggle to specifically remember how I fell, but I landed on my back near the bottom of the stairs.
And would you describe how would you describe the fall, the severity of the fall?
It's hard to recall, but I was rather disorientated afterwards, and I would say it's quite a severe fall down some stairs, but I can't recall experiencing that much pain. So,
What did you do next?
after I
What did you do next?
I got up from the stairs, a little bit disorientated, started, and then I moved to the back of the house, through the kitchen to the back door of the house. I'm not sure why I went to check the back door first, but upon seeing the back door, it was wide open, and so
Hold on. At that stage, did you know how many people were in the house? Aside two voices that were there.
no.
Right, the back door was open, what did you do?
I went out the back door and stopped when I could see down the side wall of the house. I couldn't see anyone there. And I went back inside the house.
Now, at that stage, Mr. Commodore, at the back door, just as this happened, did you call for help to neighbors at that stage?
No, I didn't.
Is there any particular reason why you did?
No, with the benefit of hindsight, that is something I should have done.
You went back into the house. What did you then do?
I realized I need to phone the emergency services to get help. The first thing I did was call my then girlfriend.
You phoned your then girlfriend.
Yes. Sorry. I phoned my then girlfriend, and
Which phone did you phone?
from my mobile phone, which was in my pocket.
You not make that. And where did you get your mobile phone from?
My phone was in my pocket.
Now, you said you first phoned. Did you get through to your girlfriend?
I did not.
Can you recall whether it rang or whether you went straight to voicemail?
I can't recall.
Did you try to do anything else?
after that, the next thing I thought to do after asking someone is to Google the emergency numbers. So that's what I did.
Now, at that stage, while you were trying to phone Bianca, you also decided to Google the number of emergency services. Where were you?
I was on my way back in from the back door and walking through the house up to the stairs.
Can you recall whether there were any lights on downstairs?
Yes, the study light was on because I remember seeing the ray of light across the bottom of the stairs.
Now, when you went to bed the previous night, was the downstairs lights all switched off?
Yes, yes, all the lights were switched off when we said goodnight. Made our way upstairs.
Now, you said you were busy walking back towards the stairs. Did you go up the stairs?
I did, yes. I can't specifically recall why I was going back up the stairs, but
Did you hear any sounds in the house?
yes, I could hear what seemed like a gurgling sound coming from the room. It's a similar sound that I'd heard when Rudy was moving around on the bed earlier, and so I assumed that it was Rudy.
No. Now, how far up the stairs did you move?
I can't recall specifically how far, but
You
it
were past
was
the middle landing.
past the middle landing, correct, yes.
And what happened next?
I looked up from my phone and saw at the top landing that Morley was moving around. She was moving her one arm and one leg around. And Mum was also lying next to her, and that's the last thing I can recall before losing consciousness.
Seeing Muddy and your mom, you said that was the last thing you can recall? Before you
Yes.
lost consciousness.
Yes.
What is the next thing that you can recall?
The very next thing I can recall is
Sorry, I just need you to speak up.
the very next thing I can recall is hearing the phone ringing and hearing Sasha barking.
One moment. With sounds, two sounds that you heard.
Yes,
So, phone ringing and Sasha Bar.
correct.
Did it happen one after the other, or was it happening at the same time?
At the same time.
Now, where were you at that stage?
At that stage, I came to on the stairs. At that specific stage, when I could just hear those sounds, I wasn't sure where I was, but I slowly started remembering, sort of as if remembering a dream, and I stood up from the stairs.
Were you orientated about where you were? Do you know where you were when you came to?
No, I was completely disorientated when after hearing those sounds. There was I was confused for quite a while before, as I stood up from the stairs. It now already being light.
Hold on one second. Well, how do you know it was light?
From the light from the windows. See, I slowly stood up, losing my balance a bit, and but when I could see Marley moving around, again moving an arm and a leg.
One moment.
When I could see Marley from the stairs, that's when I sort of snapped back into consciousness, so to speak.
Did you hear any sounds at that stage? Apart from the phone that rang in such a way?
Yes, I could again hear the sound that I presumed was really from the room.
The gurgling sound. Did you must distinguish the two guys?
Yes, the gurgling sounds correct.
Right. Now we saw photographs that were handed in exhibits depicting a number of blood stains on the grey shorts you were wearing at the time. You recall seeing those photographs?
Yes, I could.
Do you recall seeing any blood stains on the staircase?
I can, yes. I saw a blood stain on the vertical side of the stairs, but it was like, saw this before I saw Marley, so I was, the way I remember it, I'm pretty sure I was on my knees at that point, about to stand up, and so the height of the stair made sense with my stab wound, so I presume that's where.
You're referring to the stab wound at the side, the left side?
Correct.
Can you recall seeing any other blood anywhere on the stairs? On the staircase?
Staircase, not on the stairs themselves, no, not that I can recall.
And in the area where Mom and Muddy was lying?
I could see there was a blood on the vertical side of the top landing. It was dripping down to the bottom floor.
What did you do next?
Next, I again realized that I need to get the emergency services. So I made my way to the kitchen. On the way down the stairs, I saw my phone was lying near the bottom of the stairs.
You talk about your mobile phone?
Correct, my mobile phone.
And did you pick it up?
Yes, I did. I picked it up and
What was the intention? Why did you want to do your phone?
to phone the emergency services, but I had no idea of what the number was.
One moment. Well, it was also evidence and references made to a set of what was referred to as emergency numbers on the door of the fridge. Exhibit D was the record. Do you recall that listed numbers on the fridge?
Yes, I did go and check that list. Quickly scanned through it and didn't appear to me to be of any more assistance. Sure.
scanned for them and it didn't appear to be of any assistance.
Yes, at this point I had my mobile phone in my hand, and upon unlocking my mobile phone, I then saw that there was already a scrambled attempt at searching for the emergency numbers on Google, and but that did come up with the results with the phone number.
Did you attempt to phone that number from your mobile phone?
I did, yes.
Can you recall how many times?
I can't specifically recall, but I think from the evidence handed in by the state, I tried twice. But after that, I grabbed the handset from our home cordless phone and tried
Where was the handset that called this phone at that stage?
on the kitchen counter.
Can you describe your state of mind at that stage?
Yeah, I was absolutely panicked. I was, I was not thinking 100% clearly, but I was determined to get the emergency services.
We've also seen in Exhibit A photographs of a packet of Camel cigarettes lying on the counter, kitchen counter.
Yes.
Who did
Those were my cigarettes?
your cigarettes?
Yes.
How did they end up on the counter?
As I was phoning the emergency services while the phone was ringing, I went over and grabbed my cigarettes from a shoe next to the stairs that I kept them in.
Hold on one second. Saw photographs of a pair of brown loafers, if I can describe that, lying at the bottom end of the stairs on the carpet.
Those are
Your
the,
shoes.
yes, those are my shoes. Those are the shoes that I kept the cigarettes in.
Took the packet of cigarettes. What did you do?
I went and sat at the kitchen counter while the phone was dialing. I lit a cigarette to try and calm myself down. So I was breathing very fast, and I was acutely aware of the fact that I wouldn't be able to communicate properly.
The last reference was made by at least one witness in the course of the proceedings of you having a speech impediment as a child. Can you explain to the lordship what it was?
Yeah, I had a rather severe stutter, or they specifically classified it as a blop, which I would spend a lot of time trying to say a word, but just my vocal cords would just get stuck. And this various techniques.
Somebody teach you to do it.
Yes. No, starting in grade 4 in Woodhill already, I started receiving speech therapy, and I think I continued speech therapy until the end of grade 10.
And could you describe what are the techniques that you were taught to overcome this stutter?
Well, one of the immediate things was to speak slowly and calmly, because as soon as I start speaking fast, I would get stuck. You'll notice that I say a lot. You'll notice that I say a lot. That was one of the techniques taught to me. To use is just to start making a sound with my mouth before the word that I was going to use, and yeah. So there were various ways of dealing with it. It was
Now, we heard evidence in court and the sound clips of the call that you made to the emergency services, played in court, entered into the record. You've listened to it. Can you confirm that that is what happened during the course of that court?
Yes, okay.
Now, whilst you were on the phone to the emergency services, did you do anything with your mobile phone?
Yes, well, one of the first things I did was because the operator clearly couldn't get my address, and so I assumed that it was a technical problem, and so I went on my phone on Google Maps and asked it to check my current location, and it gave my current location as number 10 Alamont Street, which from the map I could tell was just around the corner.
During the course of your conversation with the lady who answered the phone at the emergency services, there was a specific instance where she asked you about the injuries to your family and said they were bleeding from your heads. Then she said, I'm asking you, although you thought you can't even get it, but I want you to have an opportunity to explain. She then said she heard what sounded to her as you giggling. Shortly after, it was really after you said bleeding from your head. Did you giggle?
I did not giggle. I said the word please. I said the word please.
You said the word please.
Yes.
Now, during the course of the conversation with the lady at the emergency service, did you remain in the house the entire time?
No, not the entire time. Part of my plan to get the ambulance there was if she had sent the ambulance to number 10 Alamont Street, it would have had to come past the corner little parking area there outside the house, as you will remember. So I could tell from the map on my phone that from the main gate, the ambulance would have to drive past that corner, and so I said to the operator that I'll be able to go out into the street and wave down the ambulance.
You can also hear during the course of the call to the emergency services that you alluded to the fact that your sister was still alive.
Correct.
Were you aware of that fact?
Yes, I was aware of the fact I could still, at that moment I was still under the impression that both Rudy and Marley were alive.
Did you at that stage have any idea of the seriousness of their injuries?
To some extent. I mean, I could see that they were bleeding from their heads, and so I was aware that this is a very serious situation, yes.
Just need you again to speak up. Now, once you were outside, busy communicating with the emergency service, can you recall meeting someone or seeing someone outside?
Yes, there was someone outside. I can't recall specifically who, but I just told them to please get help, but I didn't further interact with them.
Do you know who this person was?
I don't.
Do you know whether it's a male or a female?
It was a female.
A female?
Yes, it was a lady.
You're speaking of two people, speaking of one person.
I'm sorry, Lord.
You're speaking of two people.
I said, whether he recall meeting someone outside.
Did you say that?
No,
One person.
one person, yes.
And you say you can't recall who the person was, but it was a female.
Yes,
And where did you see this person?
out on the street.
Did you remain outside throughout?
No, I went back inside shortly after. I can't recall exactly where the call went, but I think it then seemed that it was the Alaman Street plan wasn't working, so there was no need for me to be outside the house. And so
We also listened to the voice clips. At some stage, a second lady came on to was also taking part of the conversation.
Correct.
And she seemed to have been able to find out maybe quickly where you were. Is that correct?
yes, that's how I remember.
And when you were inside the house, and then it's the great police then arrived.
Correct.
Sergeant Kleinans, he suggested something differently, but he later confirmed, but he also said in his statement, described you when he saw you as erg getraumatiseerd, baie very traumatized.
Makes sense.
Would that be an apt description of how you felt it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
When they arrived, where were you?
When they arrived, I met them by the front door.
And what did you do at the time that was after they arrived?
I told Sergeant Kleinans to go upstairs, but I think he could see from my state that I needed some sort of help. So,
So you have to speak.
sorry. And after I told Kleinans to go upstairs, he instructed the person that was with him to sit me down, and so he did sit me down in the corridor just outside the front door. I think he asked me a couple of questions, but I can't recall what he asked.
It's also correct that shortly after the emergency service and ambulance personnel arrived on the scene.
Yeah, I can't say shortly after, I presume so. I have it's very hard to remember what happened outside there, but I do remember paramedics, etc., walking past me into the house and out of the house.
And you were later taken to an ambulance where your statement was dressed, is that correct?
Yeah, I spent a while just outside the front door. One of the officers brought Sasha to me and put her on my lap. And so I sat there with her for quite a while. And from there, I was walked to an ambulance. And in the ambulance, they put a patch on the stab wound and took some photos and took my shorts and socks.
On one of the photographs, for the purpose of the record I'm referring to, Exhibit C, shows lump, to the cell referred to as egg-like lump, top of your left eye.
Okay.
Do you know when you sustained that injury?
I can't recall sustaining an injury.
Now, did you remain at the scene, or were you at some stage taken away from the scene?
From the ambulance, I think I was led by two police officers, Sergeant Adams and initially thought it was Sergeant Pollis, but it ended up, I realized during his testimony that it was Sergeant Milan.
You initially thought it was the second police officer with Sergeant Adams, was Sergeant Wallace, but you said you later when Sergeant Milan testified that he was the second police officer.
Correct.
Where did they take you?
They first asked me if I prefer English or Afrikaans. I told them English.
So where, from the scene, from the ambulance, where did they take you?
And from the ambulance, they walked me to a police double cab bakkie, marked police car.
And did they tell you why you had to accompany them?
They told me they were taking me for medical attention.
You said it was police marked double cab, but
Yes, yes. I got into the back seat and the two of them got into the front seats.
And when the vehicle, did they speak to you?
They did, yes. Actually, they first asked me what if I knew the race of the attackers, but I said that I could only see one, and the one that I saw that I think is black, but I can't be sure of that.
You also said they inquired about the language, your language preference.
Yes, I asked English and Afrikaans. They would speak to each other in Afrikaans and address me in English.
Did you inquire from them about the family?
I did, yes, and they told me they couldn't tell me anything. But also on the way to the police station, so they were taking from Desalter, we went to a police station where one of the police officers got out and collected some documents and some plastic bags, and from there they took me to which turned out to be the district surgeon's office.
Now, last
Do you-
time
yeah.
you went to the police station,
Yes.
did they say anything about money?
Yes, they said to each other that Marley's been given a drug that makes her wide awake and telling us everything.
Did they say that to one another?
Yes, but in English.
Can you recall which policeman said Malone or
No, I can't recall which between the two.
After that stage, and subsequently, which language did they converse with one another?
In Afrikaans.
And this statement about money was in Afrikaans English.
English.
Like you said, they went to the police station. One of the police officers went to fetch some plastic bags and got them. Which one of the two?
Can't recall. The one who
You
was
said thereafter they went to Dr. Albert, the district surgeon.
correct.
Now, Dr. Alberts testified, you recall that?
I do.
Recall that she said that she completed official form of J88, which is marked as Exhibit L for the purpose of the legal law.
I remember that.
She had 2 injuries. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Whilst you were there, did the police officer speak to Dr. Roberts?
Yes. While she was filling out the J88, she was not sure if it was every measurement she's taking, etc. And the police officer also the evidence bags, etc. They also it was completed, and with the sealing of the evidence bags, one of the officers asked. Realized that the proper Afrikaans grammar is self-toegedien. And so,
What did you understand?
if it's possible to say if my wounds were self-inflicted. And she replied,
You then taken to the detectives officers in Stellenbosch, correct?
correct.
before we get to that, I'm sorry, I forgot about something. The stab wound on your side, your left side, you measured that. You recall that?
Yes, I remember what she said.
How did you go about measuring?
The length and the width of the open wound, and began measuring the depth with a steel rod, but I pulled away from the pain, and she said to the officers, I won't go any deeper than that.
When you arrived at the detective's offices, what happened there?
In a communal office, but, based on false testimony, it's Sergeant Adams's office. There were a couple more officers in the same office space, and so I was there. I was given some more cigarettes, and I'm not sure how much time I spent there though, but one of the officers came back and brought lunch for everyone and gave me a bottle of Coke.
You tell his lordship at this stage, from the time that you were in the ambulance up until you arrived at the detective's office, how were you dressed?
Just my boxer shorts, blue boxers.
In Exhibit C, you are depicted sitting in the back of the ambulance, dressed in this blue boxer shorts.
Those are the ones, yes.
And you were present when Sergeant Malone testified.
I was.
He indicated that you had on long pants and also a t-shirt. What do you say about that?
That's simply untrue.
But I'm sure you said you were then from the communal office, you were taken to another office.
Yes, from there I was led. I can't remember who took me there. I think it was Sergeant Adams, but he led me to a single office, and this had the air conditioning on full blast, and I was immediately shivering after getting into the room. Asked them to slow down. Yes.
You said the air conditioning was set at full blast. You were shivering.
Yes, I was visibly shivering. I asked that it be turned down, and they responded that it's a very hot day. Sorry?
Where that's coming?
Absconded.
Responded. Speak a bit louder.
Will do. Sorry. I will.
You have to speak up. What happened next?
Next, Colonel Bienica came in. He didn't introduce himself, but I later learned that his name is Colonel Bienica. He came, sat behind the desk opposite me, and poured himself a glass of Coke, looked at me and said that he doesn't believe a word of my bullshit story. From there,
At that stage, you had any conversation prior to that with Colonel Bennett?
none whatsoever. As you say that, I have a distinct memory of looking over at Sergeant Adams and being very confused as to what was going on.
Yes.
Moving on, Chairman, to put the speak.